Phillip Island's doing its usual trick, which is give you a bit of sunshine, tease you for a bit, pour a bit of rain down, and what a time for the Utes to come out. We were talking earlier that really had a chance to run around in the rain. It sprinkled a tiny bit at the end of qualifying, but still these guys don't have any clue what they're about to get into. We'll check out some highlights. And this qualifying session started really with a bang. We had a feeling that because this track is hard on tyres, that the quick times would come fairly early. It's exactly what happened. And Kim Jane laid down a really good time to begin with. This guy was right with him in second, but unfortunately made that mistake down at turn 4 and had no chance of bettering his time, but is on the front row. How will he go in potentially wet conditions? Richard Mork dropping a wheel at the exit of turn 12, and he would end up on the last row. Hansford pushing very hard, a couple pole positions for him in Tasmania. Couldn't quite replicate that here. He's back down in 5th position. How dark is it today? Big flames out the back.
So maybe microsector, I should say.
These two are pushing maybe towards the front. 2 green boxes. Can he get the third one that he needs to get another pole position? Can he knock Kim Jane off the top? No, he couldn't. He got very close though, and he will start from the inside of row 2, right to the other side of the track from his teammate Craig Dontas. Mason Barbera will start alongside him, but it's Kim Jane first pole position here at Phillip Island, and also the first in the series since Barbagallo last year. So they're rolling around. First time since 2010 that we've been racing here. Jane's got the pole alongside Craig Dontas. Cedars and Barbera off that third row. Cedars championship leader at the moment, looking to extend that. Hansford and Pretty off the third row. Walton will be liking these conditions. This will bring him back into it. I believe he's suffering from a bit of an engine gremlin this weekend as well, so he's down on power.
She did look like that in qualifying earlier this morning. He did look like he was struggling for straight line speed. Pretty exciting qualifying session though. A little bit of rain at the end, and looks like there's potentially a little bit of rain out there at the moment.
All right, now on the roof of Kim Jane. Oops. So there goes the strip off the front of the windscreen. So thankfully, if anything, he's more aerodynamic now. So he's just getting more and more of an advantage. Hashtag V8SC if you want to be a part of the chat on Twitter this weekend. Jesus Racing Ute is back. Missed 2 rounds and is making a return of biblical proportions this weekend. Good to have him back. Fitting that he'd be gone for 2 and then comes back again. And then Kim Jane, car 27 on the pole here this weekend. And he had a front row start at Adelaide, and then it all went horribly wrong for him down there. Didn't get any points from there. And then a 6th, a 7th and a 15th saw him finish 9th for the round down in Tasmania. So Kim Jane easily the hungriest of the drivers here. Dontas back in form. But they're all going to be really unsure as to the levels of grip down there in turns 1 and turns 2. The rain has stopped, kind of sprinkling a little bit. What do you do? You're a race car driver. How do you feel in this situation?
It's probably always toughest for the 2 guys in the front row. They're the ones that are really pioneering, trying to figure out the grip level. The warm-up lap is so important in these conditions, trying to find out how much grip is actually available. The other thing is there's a very distinct wet line around this circuit as well. So, you know, every lap the circuit's going to be changing. Really tricky conditions for these guys. It's going to be a very exciting start to the race, no doubt.
Chris Walton will be hoping it absolutely pours down here with that little engine gremlin. We're set for a start. We took 3 seconds off the lap record in qualifying. They've been fast. Cold racetracks here at Phillip Island seem to produce speed, but it's the rain that we're worried about. We are set and ready. Kim Jane can move up a good metre or 2 there on the front row. Dontas already with his nose in front. Jane got a really good jump. Mason Barbera went nowhere, spun the tyres badly. So too Luke Spalding. And it's going to be Dontas, maybe? No, Jane, neck and neck, or rubbing mirrors. What a shot that was. Jane holds on for the lead at turn 1. So that was tight.
I thought Craig might have attempted to go around the outside there at turn 1. Pretty brave at the very first lap, but decided to slot back in, and probably the safe or wise thing to do in a 10-lap race.
Wow, it's tight from positions 4 backwards. Nathan Pretty sits there in 4th, and the 2 Peters Motorsport teammates here, Barbera and Hansford, go side by side. It's still sprinkling enough for Barbera to have the wipers on. Turn 4, cold tyres, cold brakes. Oh, Pretty. Great move under brakes to pick up 3rd, and Wilson's locking it up but gets away with it down there. Walton hasn't really jumped up at all off the start. If anything, he's gone back a spot.
Conditions actually look pretty good. The wind does dry the track up very quickly around here, and obviously the heat off the cars, so they're pushing pretty hard, and we'll know very quickly if the lap times are in the ballpark.
Does Walton know that Nandy Kiss is there? I hope so, because it's a fast corner approaching. They sort it out. Kiss runs off the line a little bit. And he's got Jeremy Gray in behind him. They had a diff change in that car overnight, and it's a little bit lacking for speed after being second quickest in practice. Oh man, that's defensive from the Mango Credit Ute. A couple guys with bold attempts down at MG, and it results in a tap there. Quick reflexes there for Andrew Fisher to pick that one back up. Popped tyre in practice and then had those power steering issues, which is why the car was full of smoke in practice yesterday. First lap done in the books. Kim Jane leads us home. He's got Dontas in pursuit. These two were teammates last year at Erebus. Yes, that's the same Erebus that goes racing in GTs and V8 supercars. But now they've moved off to different teams this year. Oh, man. Bit of wheel work down there.
You don't want to be fighting the car this early in a race.
This early in a weekend. Second lap of what's going to be a lot of racing miles. Walton to the outside of his teammate around Southern Loop. That is the long, long, long way around that corner. Replays at the start. Everyone ganged up on Mason Barbera, who got away really slowly. Nathan Pretty got a blinder. Splits the difference there. Fisher hitting the chip there. The top of what was third gear. Oh man, that's tight action. Wow, good stuff from Mason Barbera to go around the outside at turn one. How good's this? Watch the mirrors of the leaders. Whew.
That's great stuff, isn't it? Tight racing here in the V8 Ute Championship.
That's precision driving. We're talking centimetres away from disaster there. If you get it wrong, here you go. Kiss, kiss. That left mirror's out of commission for the rest of the race. Won't be using that one.
That's good. Help him sort of focus on the job at hand.
It's the right mirror he needs to worry about, because that's where the two passing opportunities are in the Utes.
Interesting to see the wipers on the cars at the moment. I know Kim on the previous lap did have his wipers on. Craig Dondas in P2 at the moment has his on currently. There might be a little bit of rain around the circuit. The unique thing about this circuit is it's such a big area. It can be raining down one end of the circuit and completely dry down the other. The good thing, or the easier thing, if you like, for these guys, it doesn't matter as far as tyres. It's the tyres they use, whether it's raining or dry and blue skies. But it looks pretty wet down the front straight here. Very wet.
The rain has arrived again here. So who does this benefit? Jane and Dontas head towards the Southern Loop, the leaders. How much water is there down in this part of the world? We're about to find out. Barbera hanging on to fourth. Jane runs it in deep. But like you mentioned, there are different lines you can use around here in the wet. Bit of go-kart skill might pay off for Barbera. He's back there in fourth. Everyone's being careful. We saw from the onboards yesterday, front end grip at this place, hard to find at the best of times, let alone in conditions like this. Oh no, Barbera with a big slide, and that leaves him vulnerable to Cedars, who gets the job done at the inside at Hondo, just leans on him a little bit, carrying 40 kilos of extra ballast, moves up to fourth. The championship leader doing a very good job here. 34 points, covered the top 5 in this championship. It is close. You get 70 for a race win.
Might not be as many cars on the grid this year, but it's as competitive as it's ever been. It's like you say, qualifying this morning. I think there was a tenth of a second between the top 4 or 5, which is just unheard of.
16 thousandths covered the top 3. That's how close it was in qualifying this morning. Looking back from Kimbo's car, as the CRC Kitten Car Care Products entry of Craig Dontas looming large in his mirrors. Last time Kim took pole position, he turned that into a race 1 win. He's trying to do the same here. Wow, that's close to losing the lot there for Mason Barbera.
That is one of the fastest parts on the track right there. Top end, probably 5th gear.
And with power steering issues, that's a good save. But arms like Popeye at the end of this one. He's a big lad anyway, Mason Barbera. He's having to really wrestle that car around. Battle for the lead is on. Donta seems to be relishing these conditions. He's got the confidence.
Dave Cedars sets the fastest lap of the race so far. Only a couple of seconds off the qualifying times from this morning. So the little bit of rain that you can see on the windscreen there of Craig Dontis, it's not actually affecting the lap times that dramatically.
Kim Jane, a very experienced driver across a wide range of entries. You may remember him back in the Thunderdome days, running in NASCAR. He was actually really good at it too. His uncle, Bob, of course, built the Thunderdome, and it's raining heavily down in turn 4. Dontis has a peak. Has the nose up there? Not quite, but is really pouring on the pressure in second gear as he grabs third up towards Siberia. If this battle goes on hard enough, Pretty and Cedars will close in. And right on cue, we said Walton would enjoy these conditions. He's just turned the fastest first sector in the rain. So Walton loves these conditions. It's going to bring him back into it, but he's a long way down the pace in 8th. A lot of cars to pass. Second in the championship. He needs to consolidate a good result here. Third gear up over the top. Kim Jane doing a really good job here. Just weathering the storm, putting up with the pressure. How much attention do you pay to your mirrors in these situations? Do you just not worry about it, or what do you do?
Yeah, as much as you don't want to, you can't help it sometimes. You find yourself glancing in the mirror every so often. You don't get a good visual of what's going on behind you, but you do see a flash of colour here and there. With all the vibrations in the car, your vision is compromised a little bit. So you see a flash of colour on one side, you start defending pretty hard.
He's only got 2 out of the 3 mirrors left to use here, Kim Jane. The only problem is there's nowhere where you can really pass up the left-hand side in these utes. The passing manoeuvres are down the right side, which means Kim will be able to see him coming with that right-hand mirror. That's still good. Walton right in this battle. Gee, it's close between the top 8. The front 2 trying to eke out a lead. Watching in the background as Barbera has a big slide. You can really come unstuck at that part of the track. You can have a big moment. Got away with it. On board with Fisher, who's right in there behind the youngster. It's his first weekend racing here at this venue. Mason Barbera, who's on the brake pedal a lot earlier than Fisher was expecting, did a really good job to miss him.
Mason doing a good job of giving racing room down in that braking zone. The last thing you want to do in that braking zone is to drop a wheel on that rumble strip on the left there, particularly in the wet conditions. The fact there's been a little bit of rain down there, anything that's painted on the track is incredibly slippery, so very respectful.
It's just greasy, isn't it? It's not like there's a real wet or dry line out there.
Yeah, the times are 2.5 odd seconds off from qualifying, but pretty consistent. Everyone's doing similar lap times even at the moment, so not really affecting it all that much at the moment, but who knows what's around the corner.
Oh, Don just thought about it there. You've got to really hang it high at Lukey to get it down to the inside of MG if you're going to make that one stick.
Yeah, you line it up from a long way back, and it takes a lot of commitment. You get the feeling that Craig's definitely got the pace on Kim Jane at the moment.
Oh, big moment that one for Walton, backing her in down there at turn 4. Tight action. Some passionate fans hanging on the fence in these drizzly conditions. 6 to go. There'll be 5 this time by. And Kim Jane hangs onto that lead. And on that lap, Cedars, well, he was on for a pretty quick one, but just backed it off a little bit. They're still turning 151s. The lap record is a 151, so despite these conditions, they're still lapping Phillip Island very quickly. And Fisher has got around Mason Barbera. So that was a good move. That's for 6th position. It was coming, wasn't it? Fisher has the speed here. He's really liking these conditions. He was one of the only guys, including Cedars, to race here when the championship last visited here in 2010. So he's got a little bit of miles under his belt as he locks the tyres. Barbera thinks about trying to get that spot back. It's foggy and misty and just one of those days at the island. Here's the move. Whoa, he's going to go the long way at turn 1. This is cool.
Going around the outside.
Go on.
It's the great thing about turn 1 here at Phillip Island. You don't really see it on the television, but it's quite banked. There's a lot of banking through that corner, which means you can get away. Great racecraft there. Obviously sets you up to the inside down at turn 2 there, so nicely executed. Jeremy Gray set the fastest first sector, so the track could be getting a little bit quicker.
It's a strange one. It's wet but not wet. And the battle at the front has not changed. There's been a car length between these two, barely. for the entire race. Behind them, first and third in the championship, fighting it out. So there's a lot on the line here. And we're hearing that this will be called time certain. So we're about to start the last lap of the race now, Carl. So they'd want to get a bit of a wriggle on here. Hopefully they've told Dontis that he's only going to have one lap to get the job done here.
He'll be feeling pretty hungry and motivated off the back of a win at Symmons Plains in the last round. Qualified really well today, so time to get it done. Put the pressure on Kim Jane up ahead.
Very close between Cedars and Pretty just making sure he's on the defensive side down there at turn 2.
Some good little battles going on, 2 by 2. First and second there, third and fourth, and then fifth and sixth.
Stoner corner, looming, turn 3, it's fast. Upwards of 200 k's an hour. And this is the moment for Dontis. He wants the lead of the race. Jane goes deeper under brakes. Pretty and Cedars side by side. Cedars wants to go the long way at turn 4. Pretty will just run him out of road.
Well, that's going to be a bit borderline there. Should really give racing room in that situation. And the grass on the other side of that rumble strip can be very slippery as well, especially with the water that's been down. So,
well, these are important points for Nathan Pretty. Trying to close up that gap in the championship to the man that's behind him. Dontis on the ragged edge through Hayshed. Can't seem to get close enough to Kim Jane, who's really good through the middle part of this track this weekend. He was finding the limits, you could say, in practice yesterday through there, and it's paid off because he's easily the quickest, and Cedars up the inside. Down to MG, does a good job to avoid making contact, couldn't get the job done.
These guys just know these vehicles so well. I mean, to come over Lukey Heights into MG like that.
Wow, he's had a torrid start to the championship, Kim Jane. And he's about to convert a pole position to a race win, just like he did in Perth last year. Dontis' run of form continues. But it's the Bob Jane T-Marts, a Tenzo car that gets the win. Kim Jane, winner.
And the fastest lap of the race on that last lap as well. Pretty impressive stuff there from Kim Jane.
Yeah, new lap record, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 cars under that lap record, actually. So it goes to show the track very quick. Make that 8 cars with Jeremy Gray at the end. And Dontis, a thumbs up, clean racing between those two. And Mason Barbera with power steering issues this weekend. I wonder if that's related to what we're seeing here. Looks like it's coming out of the same spot that Fisher had the problem yesterday, so it could be power steering. Kim Jane deserves that win after the massive rebuild after the fire in Adelaide. Has done a really good job in these conditions to get the job done. Half a second, Dontis pushed him the whole way.
That was a great race between those two. Nathan Pretty ended up in 3rd. Dave Cedars 4th. Ryan Hansford back in 5th. Andrew Fisher, Chris Walton, Jeremy Gray. Mason Barbera went back at a pretty fast rate there, finishing 9th. Got Steve Wilson in 11th. Troy Dontis 12th. Richard Mork in 13th. And Luke Spalding hasn't finished.